The underbelly, an ecosystem of forever expanding pipes and tunnels that belong to the underground systems that keep society functioning. Sewers, subways, catacombs, anything constructed to facilitate the incessant function or store the forgotten waste of the cities that bustle above it. The entrance to the underbelly isn't easily found. In fact, most of those who find themselves there do so by accident. One only gets there by exploring a bit too deeply in an underground structure and getting lost. It takes a while before most realize they're more than just lost, and they've actually stumbled into an entirely new realm. Some never realize that they've been trapped in a dank liminal hell. A clear, unignorable sign that you've transitioned into the underbelly is that the architecture of the underground structure you're walking through will become less consistent, almost random. And you'll notice that there's much more than the usual sewer rats and roaches running around. One of these creatures, the one we're taking a look at today, is called the meat crab. Not those kind of meat crabs, put your condom away. Not that you'd even use it. Meat crabs are scavengers and low-level predators. They live in complex hive systems that closely mimic those of earthen ants. The meat crabs make their homes in the walls of the underground structures that make up the underbelly. They burrow a complex tunnel system that acts as their home, food storage, nursery, and brothel. See, if they were people and they did all that crap in one room, they'd be rightfully in jail. But they're just big old dumb meat crabs and they don't know no better. Also, like hive mind insects or religious white people, they have a complex and rigid social structure. Among the meat crabs, there is one queen meat crab, which is kinda weird because with a name like meat crab, you'd think they'd have a king. The queen gives birth to all of the meat crabs in the hive. Males have a short lifespan and only exist to breed with the queen. God, wouldn't that be nice and simple? Short and sweet. Nut and bolt straight to the grave, am I right?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Weird thing about that is that they're both husband and son in that relationship, but we've already established that these crabs are degenerate, so whatever. Any females that do not find themselves as queen are sterile workers, gathering the food and taking care of the colony with everything they have until they take their last breath. Or however the fuck meat crabs breathe. These are the only meat crabs that can be seen outside of the hive, as they go out on expeditions to gather biological material to be turned into meat crab nectar. The hive survives solely off of this nectar, and it can be made out of basically anything that was once living, or came out of something that was once living. Fun fact, meat crabs recycle their dead into nectar too. Nature is just so beautiful sometimes. I mean, not right now. This makes me want to coat the Great Barrier Reef in a thick layer of plastic, but I don't know, stick it in a fish's mouth or something. The nectar has a brownish-green hue, and its consistency is said to be between that of bone marrow and gelatin. The taste is described as a combination of artichokes, pork, and manure. While this substance has no known analogs on the surface, the closest thing found that resembles its chemical makeup is the Impossible Meat Burger King Whopper. These creatures feed indiscriminately on biological matter. Flesh, plants, excrement, bone, basically anything. These things are little living garbage disposals, I tell you. They not only gather refuse to create the nectar they so crave, but also actively hunt anything they can find for it as well. Meat crabs are only dangerous to human wanderers in large numbers. However, that doesn't mean you're safe if you only see one. It's actually just the opposite. It's a sign of encroaching danger. You should immediately move far away from your current location in the opposite direction of the meat crab, as they will be back in far greater numbers. Upon seeing a potential prey item, the meat crab will scuttle back to the hive and leave a trail of pheromones to where it saw the prey. If the prey item is still there when the meat crabs return, this time in the hundreds to thousands, the prey, in this case you, can consider yourself meat crab nectar. The meat crabs can attribute their hyper-organized nature to a pheromonal system of communication. Yes, the scrutinous digging of the tunnels, the militaristic blitzkrieg crab strategy, and even the meticulously arranged social order can all be attributed to the specific and communicative smells that come out of their asses. I can relate, because if I like someone enough, I'll do basically anything for her to let me smell her ass. You know, I can't tell if I'm writing this script on too many drugs, or not enough. Just the right amount. The Bureau of Anomalous Containment recently discovered both the underbelly and the meat crabs from several pages that look as though they've been torn from a notebook. The paper was weathered, stained, and torn in several places. The following is what was written on the pages. At this point, I've given up. I've been wandering for hours now, and the tunnels all look the same. I was marking landmarks to try to keep track, but I've seen the same places several times, and each time the marks I make disappear. I knew the area of the sewer just before I began to lose track of my surroundings quite well. When I was homeless, I lived in a pipeline nearby it, but at some point while journeying back towards the surface, I slipped into a hole and found myself in a tunnel I had never seen before. It was dimly lit by an unplaceable light that looked like it came from a flickering bulb, but I couldn't find the source. It was like the ceiling was glowing. At first, I was just perplexed, curious about the new area I had found myself in. I thought I knew this city's underground like the back of my hand. I was naively excited about the new tunnel that only I knew about. A little haven, all of my own, safe from the other scavengers. I just kept wandering. Wasn't really sure what else to do. Everything just looked like more of the same until I saw this one small bug thing. It kind of looked like a tick, but with flesh and skin rather than an exoskeleton. It had 2 front arms, like a crab too. I didn't think much of it. It seemed like it was scared off by my mere presence and scuttled back into the darkness. I thought that was going to be the last of that and kept moving. Sometime later, I heard the rapid pitter-patter of a million footsteps distantly down the hallway. It got closer and closer until I saw a wave of those little meaty spider crabs coming towards me at full speed. I was able to cut around a corner and lock myself behind a heavy industrial door to avoid getting trampled, but they're still out there. I can hear them. I know they're looking for me. The pages were found at the mouth of an exit pipe for a wastewater treatment plant. The stains from the paper were analyzed and contained traces of human feces from several people, the blood of a single individual that according to DNA testing was not in the Bureau's system, and a peculiar novel substance with an earthy, meaty scent. Later testing suggested to the Bureau that this was a splotch of meat crab nectar. Not only that, but the DNA of the blood matched the DNA of the nectar, suggesting that the wanderer who wrote these pages was processed into food for the hive. And they all lived happily ever after, unless they happened to not want to be processed into nectar for the hive. Anyways, if you like this video and want me to come back and see more of what goes on in the underbelly, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe with all notifications enabled, or I'll throw you into the sewers. I want to shout out Dead Rex for drawing these spooky crab critters. Shout out the Inner Circle. Love y'all.